2, 1. Starting everything off, we are going to go into Backxwash, I believe, would just be how they go, but there is an X in between the back and the wash in case you guys are
edgy,
looking
man.
up from home. 100% with Only Dust Remains. And Backxwash is a Zambian-Canadian rapper based out of Montreal who's been making music since 2018, so still relatively new to the scene. She's hardcore. And she really she emphasizes kind of that horrorcore motif in almost everything that she does. She really uniquely kind of uses bands and inspirations like Black Sabbath to inspire her rap, her style of hip hop, which is kind of like this eclectic merging of post-punk, heavy metal with hip hop. It makes it sound incredibly unconventional. This is her newest record and her 5th record total. And her first since 2022's His Happiness Shall Come From First, Even Though We Are Suffering. And it really sort of lies as kind of like an afternote to... She released her last album in 2022 as kind of the third in a trilogy of albums. This is kind of like an afternote to those. This is something that they kind of... If you were to write into the index of those 3 albums, this is kind of an album that she still wanted to put out with all of this.
Yeah.
Those 3 albums, they kind of went for this reckless, abandoned style about social and acoustic normalities and wanting to just kind of do things different. She covers things like trauma. She covers things like her life as a trans person. She covers her faith and, in a lot of cases, sometimes the lack thereof on it. And a ton of other, political, social commentaries throughout kind of all of it, while really kind of trying to be raised to earth as she moves from one track to the next. She doesn't want to leave anything behind. She wants to get it all out there and make her point and say, now we're going to go on to the next one. And I think that that's a really cool, kind of unique style, especially for hip-hop, where hip-hop can... especially mainstream hip-hop falls kind of into this regularity and not necessarily trying to push the boundaries like hip-hop, was kind of invented to do in the first place.
True.
Right? Hip-hop was, especially 80s, was kind of designed to be a let's talk about the things that matter. It fell really closely with punk, which is why I think this kind of ends up working so well. But we'll go into the details on that as we go through track by track. But do you guys have anything that you guys want to add before we start diving into some tracks?
Yeah, I mean, the 3 words I think of when I hear this album and listen to the songs on this album are hardcore, raw, angry. Yeah, and I think we'll dive into that here in a moment. But,
For sure.
Yeah, they have a new #1 fan from me. This is one of my favorite albums we've listened to so far. Obsessed.
Awesome.
I love feminine rage. Here for it.
Yeah, I had a feeling we were going to dive into it.
I had no idea who they were. I am so in.
Plus being trans as well. I know that speaks to something for Mel. Yeah. I know that you're adamant supporter. I know we all are, but I know that you're a pretty stout, and it's kind of been something that you've been able to be really powerful
black
and find really powerful.
Woman for the. Yeah,
all
you have, it's adversity. A trifecta there. Yeah, there's a trifecta there, and they have every fucking right to be angry, and
Yeah, all the societal adversity for sure.
Awesome. And for those of you listening who don't know what we're talking about, well, now you're going to.
Yeah.
So let's start it off. It comes out really, really strong with Black Lazarus is the first track on the album. Let's go ahead and give a little bit of a spin on it.
Yeah.
A plan, man, don't get me started. After everything fucked up, we picked apart. I just fall to my knees with the disregard as they pray for me. But ain't nobody here saving me. And the only death I fear is pain and sleep. And I'm made it out of clear agency as they pray for me. The only way to live is dangerously. Cause for every second chance, devils wave their hands and just make the dance. I just feel like it's fucked.
There you go.
Yeah, hardcore. I listened to this. I started listening to this after Brian. I won't call him Brian Daddio.
Daddario?
Yeah, I won't Brian Daddio because it's funnier to me. But so yeah, this is a humongous genre switch up here for me. Very raw going in. No idea what to expect. But yeah, I was immediately impressed by the kind of the flow she has, and like lyrically, I this whole album I think lyrically is fantastic. Even though I think a lot of the themes are very, very dark, and it doesn't tend to really stray from that. I do think like there's so much here lyrically, and I really enjoyed it.
I had no idea what to expect going into this, and I was instantly sold by this track. I was just like grabbed right in. There's like that really cool like tribal instrumental almost that starts
the Zambian
off,
chants at the very beginning of it,
and the way that she incorporates it kind of throughout, like in the background. I thought overall the way she layers sound throughout her tracks, I enjoyed so much throughout the entire album.
You get this feeling, I think, throughout the whole album of just big space, and like the drums are so far behind her vocals that it gives so much dimension to everything that's going on in the album. I thought it was fantastic. That is one thing that was like one of the first things that I wrote down though, was the chants, and then like just kind of talking about the air that is in the track, that between everything, that makes it feel super grandeur and separated.
The instrumentals are so powerful. I was very intrigued too, just like in a sense I feel like she is calling herself the Black Lazarus here, and it's like is this a rebirth for her? Is she being brought back to life? Is she showing some kind of like power over death, like because Jesus was able to bring back Lazarus? I don't know. Like I was already I'm not a religious person, but I'm already hooked by the mythology and how she's trying to like kind of integrate her own narrative into it. I was in. I was hooked.
Well, and you get it later on in a couple of the later tracks, like specifically like with Ninth Gate, Ninth Heaven, like that kind of stuff, where like you know that there's going to be some religious background, and if I'm not mistaken, Zambia is a predominantly Christian country, and then coming to Montreal where it is very Christian, it really like those themes are going to kind of play out all the way through. And so being a trans person in a religious setting is always going to kind of have this this raw emotion about it, because it can't be easy. I can't speak from my own experiences, but of course I can resonate with that. And so I thought that was really cool. I thought she really brought that up. The way that this song kind of starts off like had me really feeling like this is going to take like a To Pimp a Butterfly style to it, just in the cadences, that kind of stuff. The fact that there's this big chorus that adds to somehow the trauma of the things that she's discussing, the words that are being used behind like having a very, again, religious choir style, I think works really, really well to show the juxtaposition of her being separate from the track.
Yeah.
And I'm not able to be a part of that because of who I am, and I'm going to keep being who I am, but I can't be a part of how the rest of this track all works together because I'm not them.
Yeah.
And I think that was a really, really powerful, especially to open up the album like that. Like that is a punch to the gut, like almost instantaneously.
Yeah.
Something I want to point out too, and we just shit on Will Smith for this. She definitely raps a lot about her trauma and her experiences and the things she's going through, but she's also self-aware. One of the verses she says, "Why the fuck am I complaining here when there's kids in Gaza with a missing father? The bongos in Congo don't hit as hard." You know, like it just she's self-aware that like there are harder problems in the world than what I'm going through, but she still, which kind of gives credence to what she's rapping about.
Yeah.
And Backxwash, if you're listening, I believe that your problems are probably bigger
our
than
actual
Will Smith's.
problems.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, our actual problem. And not to mention, it's just an overall narrative of like the issues that Black women, that trans people, that women in general face on a daily basis. Like we are marginalized as women, or again, there's like, she's got the trifecta going on, which is crazy. Yeah. So fuck you, Will Smith. You're a fucking millionaire. Sure, you're Black, so you got that going for you as far as like, as far as discrimination goes. But I don't like, he's just like, he's a rich man, so I don't take his issues as seriously.
Yeah. So yeah, I was just impressed with the self-awareness and like the,
For sure.
Right there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%. Also, by the way, we're going to be talking about Will Smith on Wednesday when we drop our singles, our track attack episode. That is why, again, recording process is still interesting, but I think that we do it with certain intention. So us shitting on Will Smith with no context is hopefully at least enjoyable enough for you to want to come and hear what we have to say about Will Smith.
I'm going to start. I think that's the 6th or 7th time we've mentioned the order of things we're talking about.
I need to make sure I keep reiterating because we're going to keep calling back because we recorded all in one day. So it
might be
recency
time
bias.
that we just switch up the order we record things.
Maybe we do. It just feels so tough to not want to just do the whole album first,
But yeah, strong, good start to the album.
Yeah,
and
100%.
the one other point that I did want to make too is, and you're going to find this pretty much throughout all of them, it is all chorusless hip hop. It is just statements being delivered to you over and over again. You're not going to find a hook. You're not going to find a chorus. It is just, I need you to just listen to the words and not just wait until something catchy happens.
Yeah.
Which is so effing refreshing to me. That's just, I love that.
For sure. It's no longer, it's not about having that catchy beat. It's just like, no, you're going to listen to me and I need you to listen to me because these are the things that I need to get off my chest.
Yeah.
Right? And then she proceeds to say it with it. So, and I love it. Dope. And then that plays into Wake Up, which I thought was, first of all, it had one of the coolest samples to open up the track.
Agreed.
Just with that, it's kind of just this little soliloquy, and just it was really, really neat, and just brings this like inherent discomfort that I thought like right from the onset was really, really nice and really cool. I'm gonna go ahead and play a little bit of it for you.
Nice.
Maybe it's disingenuous, or maybe it's the fact that I'm starting to realize that I don't love myself. I'm spending all night attempting not to judge myself, and if given another body, would have hung myself. I'm on the last rope, start to think that I had hope. Duck my knees in the back row, can't believe I was that strong. For these last words won't need any adverbs, just a silence, cause I'm hearing them screaming, what the fuck, love?
Dope. Go ahead.
I wrote in my notes, what the fuck, a 7-minute rap song before it started. I'm like, wow, we're going to get in some shit here. And there's, I think, 7 or 8 verses in this thing. Like, there's so much. And of course, there's a lot of anger here. There's a lot of like, what the fuck, wake the fuck up, guys. Another strong entry for me.
The emotion in her voice throughout this entire song was so strong and so impactful for me. And then I just instantly was just like, this is my new anthem. I love this song. Like, I want to scream it from the rooftops because, the world is just a fucked up place right now. And this track had some of my favorite lyrics on it. Like, how did you as a woman think this would be different? Why assume that the ruler gives 2 shits if you finished? Like, would suffer the fate of men with my lady parts in attendance. I was like, that's a great, here for it. And like, there's a decent amount of repetition, but I thought it was really good repetition because of the way she inflects her emotion, like, constantly. And there was enough like switching up in the background between adding like a choir sound and the guitar like riffing, and the instrumental ending was a really good way to just end it for me. I loved it.
100%. Like I said, there's that innate discomfort, and I think like that's kind of all. Like, it's I shouldn't say I think. It is clearly with intention to make you uncomfortable because, again, she wants you to sit down and just listen.
Yeah.
Sit down. You're going to hear me all the way through, and I'm going to tell you to wake the fuck up by the end of it. And you shouldn't feel comfortable. I want you to feel uncomfortable about the things that I'm saying because it's important that the only way that the way that the world changes is if I make you uncomfortable enough to want to do something about it.
Yeah.
Right? Because I already have to live with the discomfort.
Yeah.
That's my regular day is uncomfortable. So I'm making it uncomfortable for you. So you'll stand up help me get my message and my points across and see the changes that I hope to see in the world.
Yeah.
Musically, I thought this was one of the best tracks for how the drums operated. The industrial drums, like sitting like again, sound so far in the background of this track that it provides just so much space and just like it gives this really inherent air where a lot of more industrial music has a tendency to really kind of bring the drums right up to the front. That's kind of more the point. But this was a really, really tasteful way of separating out a very industrial sounding drum and focusing her vocals while still having that aggressiveness and that grittiness and that discomfort of what industrial music is and the reason that she applied it in this setting, which I think was really cool. Again, it was also kind of a back-to-back soliloquy, which gave me big Kendrick Lamar, T-Pab vibes kind of throughout it. I kind of lose that a little bit like later on in the album where I don't really feel it's quite as much to Pimp a Butterfly, but like just again, like the power and the messaging and the fact that I'm going to still be the focus on this, but the message is the focus, not necessarily me. My lyricism, not the way that I rap, not the sound of my voice, the things that I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I think she does that super tastefully in the way that Kendrick Lamar does. So like I that will be something that you guys might have brought up at some point on other tracks and stuff like that as well. These two tracks really stood out for me too, like as something that I can grab and be like, that was where the influence came from. I can smell it, you know?
Yeah.
Which is cool. And then the super like that big overture, the choir overture at the very end on the outro it felt like a completely different track at the end. And don't know exactly if I loved that part of it or if it took away or if I'm indifferent to it. Either way, it was there, and I do think it's still powerful in whichever way. Musically, I don't know if I loved that part, but
I think it made like the ending line was like, I will not go gentle, and I feel like that switch up draws so much attention to that ending line that it really worked for me, but I could understand where it would get like disconnected.
That touches on something I started to notice too with her in general, is that there's a lot of suicide references in a lot of these songs. That's a very a theme that gets touched on over and over again. Sometimes to great effect, sometimes it's like, oh, okay, you're talking about this again. For me, like it was a little too much for me at some points, but there's a lot of that in here, and that's definitely, again, the raw emotion coming through. But that's just something I wanted to note at this point.
Yeah, 100%. Then we go into Undesirable. Undesirable was still very lo-fi, but it was very like a way heavier like piano kind of focus throughout it. I loved the drums on this one too. I can't say enough. Backxwash did produce pretty much this whole album themselves as well, so important to note that she is the producer.
So impressive.
Everything that you're hearing has a lot to do with just what is just her. And so she took a lot of creative liberty. What she does with the hi-hat and the rides coming in to this like kind of cool, and then it drops into like this cool like kind of breakbeat style was just really, really neat. I really thought it kind of fell into like kind of a later Kanye, like talking about like, like Yeezus to Donda kind of area Kanye West style stuff, where it is a lot more experimental. It is a lot more different. Again, very focused on the messaging as opposed to necessarily putting out the hits, which is not necessarily for everybody. And if I was going to tell anybody that I thought this album was for everybody, no,
absolutely,
it's not. This is especially one of those tracks where it really kind of like stood out to me. But I think the messaging behind it is for everybody, and I think that's the important part. If you don't listen to the songs or you don't like the songs, understand. Listen to the song, like listen to the words.
Listen
and
to what she has
words.
to say. Yeah.
For sure.
Because it's important.
100%.
Yeah, the strongest point of this album for sure is the lyrics.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have a clip for this one, right?
No, I didn't. I didn't pull a clip. But did you guys have anything on Undesirable?
This one, the drums, again, just really stood out for me. And this is when I really, really started to become really impressed with her sound layering. And then, again, another great line that I wanted to call out was just razor bumps will always be in place and you can't shave them off. Like, it's, you can edit. You can try to change yourself as much as possible, but certain things are just innate. You can't get rid of them.
Yeah. Understanding that she's the producer and the composer of all this, that makes so much more sense because the music matches the lyrics. It's everything so raw Raw is the word I want to use for all of this, and it's not necessarily like the most pleasing thing to listen to musically. I think some parts are great, but other parts are just very in your face, I guess is the best way to put it. And I like that makes me like it more, knowing that she's the producer, because it just it matches
For
the
sure.
lyrics so well.
Well, because it all works together so like properly and so fitting. Like thematically, it all has just such a real consistency that I think is important to note. And it is all created by her, so it makes sense that it should be. This is about her. This is about her struggles. This is about her. It's not Ryan fucking Tedder popping around to just be like, hey, well, like, we could also turn this into, like, something that makes a ton of money. She's like, I don't give a fuck about the money. I don't give a fuck about it being a single. I don't usually swear on here, but I'm saying it. I only care about my message getting out there. That's what I care about. And that's appreciated. It comes with full effect. And that's something that I can absolutely understand about it. Pulls us into what is kind of a... What is the word that I'm looking for? Interlude. It's kind of an interlude with Ninth Gate. Kind of this synth wavy, like nominal backtrack with these weird glitches and breaks. It was a very light, easy interlude without any vocals. It just kind of plays into Ninth Gate, obviously opening up to the Ninth Heaven.
Ninth Heaven.
Right.
Which is the sequel to Seventh Heaven, which is a decent show, you know.
I'm pretty sure it's an allusion to, because obviously heaven and hell, there's nine circles of hell.
9 circles of hell, yeah.
This is the ninth circle of heaven, and kind of saying, hey, like, maybe they could be the same thing. Maybe what you guys are considering ninth heaven is actually the ninth hell, because for me it is, right? Especially as a trans person who's probably had to grow up in religious communities. This is your ninth heaven is my ninth hell, so we're gonna call it ninth hell. And I got a little track here for us on that.
Pressure, rifle under my sweater. The trumpet on the horns, the drummer coming, the drummer coming. And this is it, I'm going down like a bitch. The trumpet on the horns, the drummer coming, the drummer coming. I told my lover, I don't need him to suffer. The trumpet on the horns, the drummer coming, the drummer coming. So run for cover, I'm ready, you motherfuckers. The trumpet on the horns, the drummer coming, the drummer coming. Ain't nothing sweeter than the past tense. Ain't nothing sweeter than the last step. Ain't nothing. I reminisce on the stupid life that I hold, and new anxiety forms. I do it right, I suppose, but it's still.
Boom.
Yeah.
We say there's no hooks or chorus in a lot of this, but I think this song, you know,
it does.
There's
this has a little bit more of that, but again, it also takes so many different personalities as you're going through. One of my favorite parts is again going to be the drum work. It's absolutely insane to bring in like the traditional African drum beat for this track. I thought was really, really neat. I thought it was kind of an allusion to like, this is what back home was for me. She did grow up most of her life in Zambia and only came to Canada when for university. I think she was a software engineer or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so that was I really, really appreciate that little homage, that little throwback. When she yells on this track and builds that intensity.
So good.
It is nutty. It is insane. It is. You
feel the emotion.
It is goosebumps. Yeah, like my hair stood up. I'm like, whoa, whoa. Like you kind of need to take a breath to catch yourself. And then it also then at the very end, it kind of switches into this glitchy D&B bass like beat at the very end, which kind of reminded me of like Prodigy.
Yeah.
Which was kind of cool. I appreciated that a lot too. But yeah, the track itself, Mel. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I love this one. The wailing, woman vocals going on in the background added such a layer of anxiety for me that that was really successful. The outro I thought was so powerful. Like I know where I've been and I don't know where the fuck I'm going, but I can tell you one motherfucking thing. I feel fucking free. But like the weaving it in between the drummer coming, I thought again very well used repetition. I loved it. I've got no notes. Really, I just was so in it.
Yeah.
I'm really curious what your score is going to be at the very end of this.
Hi. Hi.
Yeah, you definitely seem to like this. I didn't have a lot of notes on this one, honestly. I enjoyed it. I wrote down the drummer coming because that was said a lot of times. But
It was said a lot.
yeah, but yeah, another good song. Thematically continues the same kind of consistency, which I like. So
Absolutely. Then we pop into Dissociation. Dissociation, again, just kind of another cool track. Like none of the tracks that I can even mention here. And I know I say this like I feel like on every album. None of it's bad. It's not true. I've called lots of stuff bad. But Dissociation, for myself, this one, again, felt almost a little bit too airy, in my opinion. But this post-punk kind of sound with it, it really juxtaposes her voice so much. This was a little bit more of kind of a post-punky vibe to it. It is a little bit less aggressive on the backtrack, but the vocals still kept the same aggressiveness that they always have. Yeah. So it really, really juxtaposes her intense, almost desperate sound that she performs over this, again, kind of more airy backtrack on it. And I thought that was absolutely worth noting. There's also in the middle of it kind of this like cool like little sitcom sample between it about literally, and like the sitcom sample is just about like being queer.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of like a little like, this is how people used to think, and the people that still think this way now,
a lot of them out
you're
there.
Still living in the past.
Way too many people,
a mentality, right?
Yeah.
And it was just another cool one. I did really like Chloe, who was on that track, and it kind of had like a Post Malone kind of sound.
Yeah, I thought that
to
too.
it. That I also like kind of appreciated, like his older like Post Malone stuff, like the very in the background filtered vocal kind of Post Malone track. That's all I can really describe it as. I don't know how.
That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah.
Right. But Dissociation for you guys.
I thought I liked this a lot. This is the second best song on the album for me. Lyrically this spoke the most to me. You would always want to dissociate from the bullshit in life, even though my bullshit's way different than Backxwash's, of course. But like, of course, I'm going through my own shit as everyone does, and a lot of the lyrics having to do with, hey, I'm not a drug, I don't like drugs, but they help me, forget all the bullshit essentially. And I love that messaging because everyone needs to dissociate. I thought musically, I know you didn't like it as much, Brandon, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was. I was feeling it. Like by this time of the album, I was like, "Oh yeah, I like this a lot." So
nice.
Yeah, this was also one of my favorite tracks. Lyrics are top tier. I loved the introduction of like this toxic cycle. I owe you from the last time, but I'm on my last dime. I got you next if that's fine. Don't mean to be dramatic. This shit's a lifeline. Like,
drugs,
like you're like introducing that. Yeah, that you're stuck in this cycle. You're trying to break the cycle. But that vocal distortion at the end in the final chorus ended up being really powerful for me because I felt like the way the instrumentals were breaking down was you are dissociating throughout the entire song. And then towards the end, the distortion almost kind of fades away in the tiniest bit. And it's like, and she's singing, now I'm starting to feel I'm back in control. Like the fog is clearing for me in that. I thought that was so well done. Yeah.
I kind of looked at that way.
I loved it. I loved it.
Nice. Then we pop into History of Violence, which I've got a clip for. So let's do the clip first. I don't need to hear me. Listen to her.
You are close to closing the door of the prophecy. I see the drama starting to get close to me. Tears down my eyes as everything is so lost to me. The room talking, kind of lit. The apartment, time to finish what you started. Violence screaming, final harvest. The pain goes away. Aphrodisiac from my heart. Light is bleeding through the carpet. Right to see of Noah's Ark. The rush of the feeling. Popping, heaving on the floor. Shadows sweeping at the door. Fuck your feelings, no remorse. Fuck your friends, fuck your life. Fuck them all, fuck them twice. Meet me in afterlife. You can meet me in afterlife.
If I were to introduce anyone to Backxwash ever, this is the song I would
For
say.
sure.
Oh, wow.
This was my favorite track on the album.
Yeah, same.
Without a question.
Yeah.
What I liked about this, so first of all, you kind of have this, it starts off with this dial tony kind of like backbeat through it, which was just really unique. I really appreciate it because a lot of people use the dial tone trope as like the call, like nobody's picking up the phone kind of like sound. she turned it into a full beat and actually like used that throughout everything. And I thought that was really neat. And also it didn't sound like just the phone not being picked up. Like it sounded like it was actually sounding like somebody dialing something. I thought it was just a really unique take on it. I'm sure Mel might have deconstructed it and worked it into the lyrics or something like that. Maybe. I don't know.
I didn't,
we'll find
actually.
Out. Okay. Well. All right. Well, we'll have a discussion after the recording here, and we'll talk about that.
Am
but
I getting
regardless,
fired?
this was, in my opinion, the coolest lyricism. The cadence was way more hip hop, I think, than poetry to beat.
Yeah.
Which all the way through kind of the whole track, that is more so what it is. It's poetry to beat as opposed to hip hop. This felt very hip hop. It still felt very poetic. I don't want to take away at all from what it is. Just the way that it actually worked together felt like this was more musical than it was yelling at the top of your lungs to music. And I thought that was something that made me a lot more drawn to this track as opposed to the other ones.
Yeah, it's more accessible for sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
And then I also really appreciated just like, so as she goes through, her cadence kind of starts to slip slowly into more off time. And I thought that was a really, really cool way to go into it, especially because the back end of this track gets aggressively political.
Yeah.
Like, gets aggressively political. Like, she starts mentioning every single problem that she has with everybody, almost like in a list format, which is really cool. I thought it was literally a charter of the things that she's screaming about and being like, this is what we want. This was her trying to nail it to the door for you.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
I loved how as she was getting more angry and everything was getting more aggressive too, the guitar just starts wailing like, and it was, it added again, I'm getting anxious again, like listening to it, but it was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely gets more political along the way. I love the glitchy electronics, as you put. I would play this. This is, if there's any song I would add to my playlist, it would be this one.
Yeah.
Certainly. So, yeah.
100%.
Love this one.
And then we go to Stairway to Heaven, aptly named after, one of the most famous songs that's ever existed. And knowing exactly that she has taken, bands like Black Sabbath and quoted them as inspirational, to say this track isn't inspired by Led Zeppelin, it would be ridiculous. It is very prog rock. It is very, it has all of the influence from it. And to still call it Stairway to Heaven, while you've already had so many religious undertones throughout the whole album, I thought was crazy important. So let's play a little bit of that so you guys know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Sit me down in my casket, jewels on in the black dress, or a suit tailored with a napkin. I am Cruella in the black wig, so sit me down by the open flame, burning fire, leaving cold remains. Toss me out by the open sea, baby, hold me out to the open wind. So sit me down to the wind blows, to the breeze shatters through my cheekbone. Watch the trees as they sprout for me. I sow the seeds for the plant and leaves. So
Boom.
Yeah. Another death song, another song about death.
Oh,
But like this one's more like I'm not scared of death. I don't care about what happens after. Even kind of embracing death in general, I feel like is the general undertone of this song. I like this one too.
Well, and what I thought was really neat is, especially again with the death tones and that kind of part, it starts off with kind of this like really, really quiet like marching drum that I thought was really unique. It is kind of like a death march.
Yeah.
And I had wrote down that like it's a lot slower pace compared to a lot of her other the other stuff on the album. But like, and it probably won't stay that way. It kind of does just stay that way, and it kind of feels like just a slow burn all the way there. The guitar riffs on this were really, really proggy, and again, that's where I get like almost instant like this was called Stairway to Heaven, and it has this Led Zeppelin kind of sound to it. It is very Zeppelin inspired, and I like the fact that if I'm going to use the name of their song, I'm going to use them just as inspiration for it, and I really, really like it. It was a really, really cool take on how you transform Zeppelin to hip hop, which, trust me, people have been doing forever and ever. It's already been done, but this is a very unique take because this is a very powerful. I'm going to use it in a very different setting, taking Zeppelin and turning it into hip hop than it traditionally gets done. I won't say ever before, but it very well could be ever before. Honestly,
Yeah.
This one's powerful for sure.
Yeah, I loved again, the ending for me was like probably the most powerful part because you're like building up, you're making all these allusions to death, and then just that ending line felt the axe cleave through my collarbone. Like I felt like I had an actual visceral reaction to that line. Like, like I can feel it. No, but yeah, great.
Love After Death, the next track, is again another interlude. It is just a sample. Is all it is. It's just kind of another one. Do you guys have any kind of thoughts on it?
Nah.
I just loved the one line. The question of love is the question of what to do. Like I thought that was just very powerful.
That is cool.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, so that for me was like the big standout. I think it's like towards the end of like the little monologue.
It was only about, what was it, 50 seconds or something like that? It was
quick,
short.
yeah.
It was short and sweet, not a whole lot there. So like not going to do a crazy amount of time on it. And then finally, at the very end of the album, the very last track is the title track, Only Dust Remains, which, based on just the title, that actually tracks. It is the only thing left is just the dust at the very end of it, which I've got a little clip for. So let's go ahead and give it a spin.
Just miles away till it's all clear in me. What was it I said? What was it I did? Eyes too blind, I couldn't see it. Feet off the ground, I was walking away from me.
My thing, what I hope to do all the time, is to be so completely myself, which that's what I hope I am.
So, really, a completely different track.
Yeah.
It has everything to do with the whole album, but it's kind of this, all right, well, now that I've said what I needed to say, I'm going to just go back to being filtered, which is why I think they use the filtered vocals over it. I'm going to go back to just being filtered now. I'm going to let the samples speak for me, and just kind of like, it really does feel like, all right, I've finished, so I'm going to go shut up like I think you guys all want me to. And I thought that was a really powerful way to end it, was it really is thematically kind of, again, throwing the filter over top of everything, being like, I'm going to go back to not being able to do anything and covering my mouth because you guys don't love all of the rest of this. I'm going to let the piano and the choir and all of that kind of sounds like be the focus again. And again, I'm going to use the samples and let the TV and the interviews and all of that speak for me because they know exactly how I feel. Kind of like almost like, screw you guys. I'm now just going to return back to doing nothing because you guys don't care enough, or you guys are going to pay more attention to the other things. But at the end of the album, to close it out, being like, now that I've said my piece, I'll disappear now. You guys take everything that I've said and either do something with it or don't, but I can't sit there and continue to beat my head against the wall over it.
I took it a little differently, but that is so interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How'd you take it?
So for me, I felt it as kind of like she's coming to terms with things. Like she's just accepting it because she has no voice. She has no say. And like the whole line, I was walking away from me. Like, I think she's realizing that she's going back to dissociating. Like she doesn't have a say, and she's just kind of giving up almost. And she's going back into that dissociative state, which is why the heavy filtering's back. But yeah, I don't know. That's so interesting.
See, I think we're kind of saying the same
Similar.
thing.
I guess so.
I'm saying kind of the same thing. I think it's more, I've yelled about everything that I can yell about.
Okay.
So whether or not you guys do something about it, that's up to you. Right? And so this is her way of just being like, I'm going to go back to not saying anything now because that's what you guys would prefer. But you guys heard my piece. And so if you guys want to do something about it, go ahead. Otherwise, in the meantime, I'm just going to be filtered, and I'm going to again, let other people speak for me. I'm going to let the choir and all of the kind of religious undertones, I'm going to let those dictate things. I'm going to let those ones go and just take over this last track because I've done everything I need to. It's up to you guys what you do with it from here.
Yeah, I did not catch what either of you got, and that makes me take a new view on the on the song. I kind of I didn't think that much about it, honestly, and I didn't think much of it because of that. I thought I didn't like the song much at all musically. Felt like a lot of noise. I didn't like the filter, but now that I have some context for it, now that you guys have opened that door for me, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe there's purpose for it, and I like it more now. Just think of that, but so I didn't come to those conclusions. I didn't really come to any conclusion on this one. I just
yeah, that's fair.
Kind of ended. I'm like, okay, it's over. I heard all the powerful stuff. This one didn't do anything for me. So moving on.
It almost, I took it almost as like she's conceding, like she's just giving up again, and it sucks.
I think it is in a way. I don't think it means giving up necessarily. It's more like, okay, well, I've done what I need to do now. So you guys have to do it from here. I can't do it by myself, and therefore, so it is kind of a concession, but more of a concession of, I hope you guys are going to
do something about it.
Do something about this.
Yeah, she got off the soapbox.
Yeah,
right. Exactly.
I'm glad that you took a more of a positive note from it because I was just kind of like sad. Like, we're just stuck, man.
That's because you organically fall into
I'm sad.
melancholy and brunette, which you guys won't know what that means until
we talked about it.
Son of a bitch.
Before we
7.
recorded, but
But anyways, final thoughts, conclusions, guys. Conclusions for the album.
You first, Mel.
I just fucking loved it. I thought it was so powerful. I think she's saying so much that needs to be said. I think she really does a great job of capturing like not only just her personal experience, but so many experiences that so many people are like suffering with. And it's just so well done. It was so well done. I thought everything sonically was so well balanced. The fact that she produces it all herself is just incredible. I'm so impressed by her.
Yeah. Everything is raw, angry. The content's dark. The content is rough. It's hard to listen to, and like you don't want to be shown these terrible truths, but that's there's a lot of this stuff that's going on in the world, and the shit she's going through. There's a lot of people going through. I like. Something I didn't point out at all, but I mentioned the lyrics. I love the lyrics throughout the whole thing. I think the range of vocabulary too that she used is just astonishing, just fantastic.
Genius.
She had words like disingenuous, hubris, heresies, luminescence,
and the
symbiosis.
way she makes it flow is so impressive.
Yeah.
Like
admonished vitriol was something that was said once. She said Hennessy once. That's a tough word, right? Hennessy. Yeah. So like, there's a lot going on there with vocabulary. I think that's so impressive. And I think that's so many rappers out there, their vocabulary is like 200 words and that's it. And that's every song. And she's all over the place with $1 million words, which I love. I think it's fantastic.
Which album did Kendrick win the Pulitzer for? Was that Damn or was that To Pimp a Butterfly?
I believe it was To Pimp a Butterfly.
Yeah.
I'm not 100%.
Because I was that's where the Kendrick like correlation comes in, where I feel like she's deserving of a Pulitzer Prize for how well this was put together.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe she did win a what is it called? Polaris Award previously. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong on that.
You're right.
I should write down.
Oh no, you're right. Yeah, 2020 Polaris Music Prize. Yeah.
Right. So like again about influential music, about the power behind her music and stuff like that. This album is honestly it's a unique beast of like social, political, religious commentary from a place of like you can tell genuine and raw emotion kind of all the way through. It's not conventional hip hop. If you are like, I like hip hop, therefore I might like this. You might.
If you like
what kind of hip hop you
what hip hop used to stand for, mostly,
right. Again, I'll mention that this does kind of end up being a footnote on her trilogy. This is kind of just a really angry, written in blood footnote at the bottom of 3 chapters that have already been read off to everybody.
Yeah.
But it's at times heavy, it's at times really light. it's always authentic, and I can appreciate that lots. I don't know if it's something that I'll ever be able to really just dive back into. Personally,
Fair.
it's tough. It's tough. It's meant to be tough. It should be tough. It's important that people give it a listen. I just don't know if it's something that I'll necessarily come back to. You know, at times her vocals aren't really what I enjoy. At times her cadence, as much as I like her cadence in some tracks, also sometimes feels a little bit too off time and intentionally off. And that doesn't really necessarily do it for me. As a piece of art, I absolutely 100% give it a 10 out of 10. It is a piece of art, and I can appreciate that. As somebody who listens to music, not quite feeling the exact same way, right? So I think that's an important distinction to make. I think the message is very, very important and should be heard by everybody. Whether or not you like the music behind it, that's kind of a completely up to you. And in my opinion, wasn't my favorite thing in the world.
I loved it. I loved the way everything like jumbled together, but I thought it was so well balanced. I loved it.
What would you give it, Mel?
I'm giving it a 9.5.
Wow.
I think it's my favorite album we've listened to so far.
That you did say that.
Yeah. Like, so based off of what I've rated things in the past, yeah.
Yeah.
That's where it would be. You're
Yeah.
not wrong there.
Yeah.
Bob?
Obviously, you had no idea what this was going to be coming in. Towards the head, I was bobbing my head. I was enjoying it. I feel very similar, Brandon, where I don't know if it's something I would add to a playlist. I don't know if I'd revisit some of this. It was an interesting place to visit. I wouldn't want to live there, so to speak.
Yes.
But yeah, as a piece of art, fantastic. For me, musically, it's not something I'm going to go back to a lot. But I gave it 8.1 is what I gave it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, like you said, you don't want to live there.
Yeah.
Backwash,
absolutely.
you do live there. And so,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
obviously, all the love from all of us, the way that we rate your music doesn't really matter because it's about you. And I think that that's an important thing to mention if you ever somehow stumble across this somewhere in the internet sphere, which I
Like
appreciate
Courting
if you
did.
do.
Yeah.
For myself, just with all of the music notes and the fact that I don't know if I would be able to dive back into it myself, like, for this was a 7.1 for me.
Yeah.
I was quite a bit lower on this just because,
I get it, though. Yeah.
again, it at times messy, with intention messy, but at times messy, and I couldn't quite get onto the same wavelength of it. I still appreciate it for exactly what it is. Like I said, an art piece, and that's important, and quite literally like a characterization of somebody's life. And who am I to put a number on it at the end of the day? All I can do is judge the music of it, and that's what I'm judging there at 7.1.
Yeah. No, fair. It's
Fair.
will be going back and listening to it. Like
Yeah,
I will
and that's the
probably
difference,
be
yeah.
getting the vinyl if that exists.
Yeah.
Like I'm in.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rock on. And
Awesome.
that right there, my friends, is Only Dust Remains by Backxwash. 3, 2, 1.